Goedemiddag allemaal. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. Poor data quality is costly. That's the topic of today's webinar. We're going to start with a poll because we're really curious to know what you think about data quality. And I'm going to start up the poll right now. There we go. We want to trigger you a bit because do you think your company is suffering costs due to bad data quality? Please select one of the options. Yes, I do think my organization is suffering a lot due to bad data quality. Yes, some, not sure, I don't know. No, we're probably not suffering from bad data quality. Or no, definitely not. I'm really curious to know what your opinion is on this. I'll give you some time to answer this one. And I can see some votes are already coming in. Give you some time. I think we can close the poll now because I see a really clear result. There we go. 60% of you say yes, some costs, some. And somebody says yes, a lot. And others say not sure, I don't know. Well, it's great to see that at least you all are convinced that organizations are suffering one way or another from bad data quality. Harvard Business Review agrees. They report that businesses in the USA yearly lose $3 trillion annually. I have to close the poll, sorry. Yeah. $3 trillion a year are lost yearly in the USA from bad data quality, and that's the USA. But when we look at the Netherlands, it's not better at all. Nijrode Business University, they conducted a poll with 20,000 Dutch organizations having 10 people or more on board, and they came up with a number of 400 million euros lost per year due to bad data quality. We also see that reflected in this number. 87% of shoppers have lost faith in a brand due to incomplete and or missing product information. That's a lot of shoppers that don't buy from you because you have bad data quality. Hello, my name is Pieter Verhooyen. I'm marketing manager at SRC. I live in Amsterdam. I'm 32 years old. And I'm often in talks with customers. SRC has helped talking about how data quality is important for them. I also manage the blog on src.eu, where we regularly post expert blogs on data quality. If you haven't seen the blog yet, be sure to have a look. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Tim. Tim, maybe introduce yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Tim Groteners, sales manager at SRC, living in The Hague, 42 years old. And we try to help businesses to optimize their data management process and ultimately help them achieve product data excellence, which is also the subtitle of the webinar for today. So talking about that webinar, let us take you through the contents of today. We start out why data quality is key in everything that we do as a business, as an individual, but also show you the root causes of bad data and where the responsibility lies. In the second part of the webinar, we will zoom into the product data area and show you how to achieve product data excellence. And we close off this webinar with a best practice. But let's start with why data quality is key. Peter?
Data quality is key because the amount of data that is amassed globally is growing every year. That's probably not a surprise to you. Us as consumers and organizations and companies, we amass data about each other, about everything, and that number only grows yearly. As projected, as you can see in the graph, by the year 2025, there will be 181 zettabytes, which means 181 billion terabytes of data in the world, which is an enormous amount, so you better get it right.
That's a lot of information or a lot of data, I have to say. And IDC forecasts about the same. They say that in the next 3 years, we will create the same amount of data that we did over the last 30 years. And that all is driven by digitalization in the widest sense of the terminology. It's becoming a digital first world. And that means that data is gaining more and more importance. Data is collected in, well, almost any aspect of human life, but also on the internet, on machine-to-machine interaction, machine learning, and that allows us to make more and more decisions based on data. A good example of that is e-commerce, where in the old days we would go to a store, we would feel, look, smell or taste if the product would allow for it and make a decision. Nowadays it is done on data alone. So what is the upside of having good data quality?
Well, like you said, Tim, having a lot of good data as a customer means you can go for better analysis of what you can buy, and you can better compare the products you want to buy. So you make better informed decisions. That means as an organization, you are building more trust and confidence with your organization, within your organization, and also with your audience. People know what they buy, so they trust you. So that means you're delivering the best experience possible to your customer, and you can run more efficient campaigns because you understand your customer better and know what they want. That makes that you will be ahead of the competition, and you will minimize costs and maximize revenue that way. So what are some requirements for good quality data, Tim?
Well, a lot, but summarizing them in 6 of them. Data needs to be accurate. And of course, that's an open door to mention it, but data needs to be entered correctly. And it needs to be valid. So is the data intended for the system or the goal that you're entering the data for? Is the data complete? Data without context is useless, but so is incomplete data. Data needs to be timely. Think about seasonality, winter clothing during summer, ice cream during the winter. The data needs to be accessible and available at the moment that the consumer or the customer or the system is in need of it. Data needs to have integrity. I always use the example of myself during my student time, where I needed to submit a survey for research that I was executing. We need to have 100 surveys filled in. I think I speak for many students that, well, not all 100 of them were submitted by individual contributors, but well, by the students themselves. So data integrity, it needs to be there. Otherwise, the data is not clear. And finally, the data needs to be consistent. Think about metric system versus inches. Think about kilos that need to be kilos. You need to submit data in a consistent manner in order to get consistent and a good quality data. I think that's a good moment for the next question.
Absolutely. So we go to the next poll question. What is your biggest struggle in reaching optimal data quality right now? There are multiple answers that can apply. Maybe you struggle with too many IT systems, with unclear roles and responsibilities. Insight in data quality status is also a very big issue often. Or you simply lack the time. Or another option. And if you have other answers to this question, we'd like to hear it, and you can put it in the chat box, and we'll talk about them. I see people voting already. I'll give you just 10 more seconds to vote.
Curious to see what will be the outcome.
Yes, I see the majority has voted, so I can share the results. 63%, so I see a lot of people have selected multiple answers. Unclear roles and responsibilities and no insight in quality status are the biggest problems people are facing, and too many IT systems and no time. Okay. Time to go back to the presentation.
That's clear.
That's clear. Thank you for your answers, by the way. It's no surprise. Research by Dun & Bradstreet has shown that 46% of data managers haven't had the technology in place to take advantage of the data properly. 45% say the data has been the concern of the IT department rather than the business. And 43% even, which I think is a lot, it's almost half, say some of the data-led projects have failed even.
Yeah, and bad data is costly. Looking at some research done by, starting with Vincent Bourne, it says that 91% of the IT decision makers believe their organization is in need to improve the quality of data. And 77% of them said that they lack trust in their own organization's business data. Forrester, on the other hand, says that less than 0.5% of all the available data is ever analyzed and used. So we're making decisions based on the tip of the iceberg. And if that data is not correct, well, the impact is bigger. And they also state that a typical Fortune 1000 company could generate more than 65 million in additional net income by increasing data accessibility with only 10%. There's a lot to gain. Gartner says that organizations suffer in average $15 million a year in losses based on poor data quality. And the shocking thing for me and for us is that nearly 60% of the participants in that survey didn't know how much bad data cost their business because they don't have any tools in place to measure it. So there's a lot to gain. Looking at the impact of poor data, this picture summarizes it in 8 main domains, I would say. For example, number 2, the loss of revenue is something that, every business will feel in the end. But also customer experience that can be in a positive and a negative way. But the impact of poor data is, of course, negative. And bad customer experience will ultimately lead to reputation damage, which is quoted in number 6. So there's a lot to gain from improving your data quality. But before we can do that, it's good to know what causes bad data and, see if we can determine who is responsible. Looking at the root causes, there are 5 common issues that we see. That is in the domain of duplicate data, incomplete data, unstructured data, inconsistency. We discussed it before. It can be in format, in the numeration, languages, measurements. But I think we all recognize the number 5. It's the human error. We're all human, luckily, unfortunately, but we all make mistakes. And that has a long and big impact, as we've seen before. But knowing where the challenges lie, who's responsible for bad data? That's not an easy question, and the answer is even more complicated because the domain of data is extensive. It is wide, it is complex, and it's hard to determine. And to make an understanding who's responsible, it's good to know which data is managed where and by whom. If you stick to the terminology of MDM, Master Data Management, we can split it into 4 main categories, I would say. Starting with the bottom right, with the other part, you see that that's often covered by an ERP system. Locations managed by an inventory management system, WMS system, the warehouse management system. Parties like customers, accounts, suppliers are typically managed in a CRM. And the things part, the products, the materials, the assets, then you get into the area of the product lifecycle management, PLM, your DAM, digital asset management, WMS, warehouse management, or PIM, product information. So it's not an easy question, and the answer is often not just one department or one person. It's a combination of factors that, can point into a group of responsibles. Knowing that, how can we help and how can we realize and achieve product data excellence? Looking at product data and plotting that onto the e-commerce domain, we see 4 main challenges. The loss of sales. If data isn't there, without data, you won't sell. If I, as a consumer, enter a website where there's no picture, where there's no description, where there's no specification, no reviews, I won't buy the product. So you missed customer expectations. It's an extreme example, but if you think you order a blue shirt, you don't want to receive a red pants. And that is the biggest trigger of customer disloyalty, getting the wrong product from what they ordered. Apologies. The third one, the cost involved with error handling, the returns. I just read an article that said that the biggest pile of rubbish on this earth is caused by return clothing that is not reprocessed by the big retail chains, but it's simply thrown away because the costs of getting it back into stock, back into the store, are higher than just throwing it away. And of course, web traffic, website traffic. How do you get the customers to get to know you, to know your brand, to know your products, to know your solutions? You need to have your data up to the level that you can be found, that you can generate traffic, and get people to your e-commerce environment. Summarizing that into the top 3 business priorities, you can summarize them to the 3 listed on the right. That's improve customer experience, reduce cost, and grow revenue.
And with that being said, it's time for another poll question. Where do you manage your product data right now? Please select all that apply, because in a lot of organizations, multiple answers apply. Do you manage your product data in your ERP system? Do you do that in your CMS, Excel, PIM, or other? And if the answer is other, please share it with us in the questions or the chat box. I see we already have some votes in. I'll give you some more time to vote. Yep, the majority has voted. 75% of our attendees already use a PIM system. That's great. That's great. That's great. 63% also use an ERP, 38% use an Excel, and 25% use CMS. And probably a lot of people that join the call right now use multiple. I get the idea. All right, let's move on.
So how to achieve product data excellence starts with the question, where to manage product information. It's not by incident or coincidence, I have to say, that we asked you the question in the poll before. We often hear the question, hey, I have an ERP, so why not manage my product information there? Well, as an ERP is usually intended for business processes, financial administration, transactional registration of a sale or a procurement. It's a front office business application, not intended for product management. It has less flexibility. It has less capabilities of having the data attributes that are needed to register, sell, and manage a product. So in our opinion, an ERP, like a CRM, like a CMS, like a business intelligence application, is not the main system to manage your product information. But what is? Well, then we get into the MDM domain, the master data management. You recognize the picture from a couple of slides earlier. MDM stands for master data management, like I said, and it's typically a suite of solutions and often an IT-led initiative that aims to create a golden record for all master and reference data. So one source for all kinds of information that include customer information, product, but also location, supplier data, financial data, and everything else. So looking in the things domain, you get into a couple of systems that are commonly seen over there. We have PLM, which is product lifecycle management. We have the DAM, digital assets management, and we have a PIM, product information. Comparing them to each other, a PLM is an internal system that doesn't hold any customer-facing information. And that's the part that is needed in order to get a product sold and typically managed in your PIM. So what you see in a lot of cases is that a PIM is connected with a PLM as a source of information. Looking at a DAM, or the DAM, it handles digital assets. And a DAM can be used for more than just product assets. It can be used for all kinds of digital assets for any organization to use. It can be designs, it can be bookmarks, it can be instruction videos, it can be training videos, and not everything is per se related to a product. That's where PIM makes the combination between a digital asset and the product information. So that leaves us with PIM. And PIM is a solution that focuses on delivering high quality, complete and accurate product information to support sales and marketing. PIM is often business-led, and it's typically much easier and cost-effective to implement compared to other more comprehensive MDM deployments. But then what, Peter? How to select the right one?
Yeah, if you see all these suppliers of PIM solutions, you can easily get confused how to select the right solution. There's a wide variety of solutions in the market today, and how to select the right PIM, you could ask yourself, you could use these 5 criteria. And let's start with the functionalities. I mean, this sounds like a no-brainer, but in the early stages of choosing a PIM or starting with your plan to implement a PIM, you should ask yourself and use the Moscow method. What are the must-haves, the should-haves, could-haves, and not-haves for my implementation? How am I going to solve the problems that I have? This will already allow you to eliminate some of these suppliers. Flexibility. What if the scope of your PIM project changes during implementations or afterwards? We see that happen a lot, actually. Choose a PIM supplier that is flexible and can think outside of the box to find a solution tailored to your organization. Some PIM suppliers are able to do that and others aren't. In the same category goes scalability. When your PIM is up and running, and you want to add more channels, or you want more functionalities, or you want to connect to more suppliers or data pools, it's important to know that it's a possibility of the system. Check with the PIM suppliers you're considering if this is a possibility before doing anything. Data standards. Securing the quality of your data is possible by using data standards. In SRC's PIM system, you can set your own business rules. And you can also meet the requirements of your industry or data pool, for example, ATIM, GS1, PSN Food Service, or others. Some PIM systems can validate against GS1, but SRC's PIM system is the only PIM system allowing you to real-time validate based on different standards. Data can only be published to data pools or external channels when the data meets the requirements, so you got it always first time right. Those are true the validation capabilities that will allow you to perfect your data.
Well, that sounds about a good route to go. But then what? You have a PIM, and then what? It is important to give PIM a position in your organization, and not just as an application, but you need to define and enforce a product information management process. You need to embed it in your organization, but also into your IT landscape. Determine what is the single source of truth for what information. Is that PIM? Is that ERP? Is that whatever system you would like? Assign clear roles and responsibilities. Make sure that everybody knows what to do and in what order they need to apply or amend or adjust information. And utilize the PIM's workflow capabilities to support your business process. And make sure you publish your product information first time right by enforcing correct data validation rules. Data validation according to your standards or the market standards or local law and legislation. Make sure that the data you send out and you share to the destination is matching the destination's criteria. So in order to get that all done, what can be achieved? We want to close off this webinar with a best practice, something that we've done with one of our clients. And in this case, it's a manufacturer in the DIY, do-it-yourself, and construction industry. It's a customer that we've known for a longer time. And the reason why they came to us was that they were facing a couple of challenges. And like many organizations, they came from a situation where they were using their ERP system in combination with Excel to manage their product information. And they were limited by the capabilities of those systems. Combine that with the increasing demand from their customers for more and more information, but also different types of information. They were serving the do-it-yourself industry, where we as a consumer buy our products. They needed to know information on for their shelf display. So how big is the bag? How big is the package that we show? What's the price? While on the other hand, their professional customers, their B2B customers, needed to know, okay, what's the diameter and what materials do I need to install it? Can I glue this? Do I need to weld it? Can I heat it? And those different types of customers also comes from the situation that they needed to comply to multiple standards. In this case, it was GS1 for the do-it-yourself industry, but also ATIM for the building and construction industry. So what were they looking for?
They were looking for one solution for the whole process. The PIM system they were looking for needed to be supported with GS1 DIY data standards and the ATIM standards. Like you said, they both wanted to publish from one system to the professional market and the consumer market. And it needed to be supported for e-commerce, which meant they also wanted to send their product information and the images to their web shop.
Well, we accomplished a lot of results with them, not for them, with them, because they are the ones that use and utilize the system. But a couple of outcomes were that they had a higher customer satisfaction, resulting in the end in a increased revenue. But the biggest one was on the error part. They saved a lot of time in processing product information, on processing the different types of product streams, and they saved a lot of cost handling errors. They had no more fines from customers. They had no longer returnables that are expensive to process. And the last one that we want to mention out here is that our solution gave them more insight on what the status of their data was and where they needed to step in order to make sure it would meet the receiving part's requirements. There are a couple of more, but let's leave it at those for now.
That brings us almost to the end of the webinar. I think in the last half hour, we've covered a lot. We've shown you from a lot of research that bad data quality is quite costly, and also how you can possibly solve having poor data quality. Now we are curious how we can help you achieve great data quality. Contact us via sales@src.nl with your questions. We will, of course, also reach out to you. We will send you the recording of this webinar so you can rewatch it if you like, or send it to your colleagues if they're interested. For now, I want to thank my colleague Tim.
Same to you. Thank you
for presenting, and I want to thank you for being here today and listening to our webinar. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thank you. Good afternoon.